Welcome back to the Matrix. And it's just Matrix, you are the Matrix. How's it feel, Neo? And today we got ourselves a banger daily market news analysis. What is up? What is up? How's everyone feeling out of 10? Make sure you guys are spamming that like button, hitting the share, so other people can spam the like button, hitting the share. If you're watching on TikTok, hit that repost, man. Hit that repost. It's free. All right, let's get into it. As of the time of recording, Bitcoin currently sitting at $87,350. Currently, this is just a higher low as of right now. We talked about this a lot. We do need to, it's going to continue to be a battle. We had a pretty clean rejection off of the 200 here. So we do need to get above that, I will say. But ultimately, as long as this holds over here in November, this is just a higher low. And so there's really not too much to say as far as Bitcoin goes. But the one thing that's crazy right now is silver is ripping and roaring to the upside here. Continuing with the bearish divergence, we can see the RSI got extremely overbought here, but the price continues to rip and roar higher. By the way, I made a mistake yesterday. I said that my target was $78. That was not my target. My target was $72. So it looks like we're going to hit that for silver. By the way, that's been my target since $20. So I'm getting pretty close to starting to take profit on my physical silver. I've been a silver stacker for a long time, and I love me some silver. So I'm probably going to take profit here soon. Like, this is getting super, super hot. This is a 50-year high at this point. And, you know, this is, you know, what we've been talking about. This is the same setup, by the way, that we've been talking about in crypto. Of, like, this is Wyckoff. Parabolic rise, distribution, markdown, accumulation, spring, sign of strength, back test of the prior range, mark up. It's as textbook as it gets. That's as textbook as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're seeing, and though the interesting thing though, is gold is not making new all-time highs. Right? So what is that telling us? Rotation of capital is here. It's happening. It is happening. Gold is in distribution. Gold will probably make a new all-time high. But this is clearly in distribution. And in the precious metals, silver is having an alt season. It's in price discovery. It's in euphoria. It's in absolute euphoria. Okay? So this will probably go to about $72. This has been my target for a long time. That's the 1618. It's probably going to get that. And then we'll probably start to see a rollover rotation continuing to play out. Now what we're seeing out of the Russell, 249 today. It's continuing to follow this fractal almost perfectly. And if it continues to follow, we would expect into the end of December all the way down to about 240. Before by January making a new all-time high, and then that would put the Russell in price discovery, which of course is what we need from crypto. I did see the DXY is looking really weak too, which is good. Bitcoin Dominance still kind of marching itself along here on the daily. Let's look at the 5-hour. We've had a couple rejections off of the 200 here. Want to see another rejection off the 200, and then we want to see a lower low. We've been putting in higher lows and we've been putting in higher highs, so we need to see a real deal rolling over effect over here. DXY looking very weak, even on the daily. Again, rejection by a baka. Rejection off of the 200 here. And has been falling pretty steeply here. And by the way, this is probably going to be, you know, there's real fundamentals behind this too, because the United States is now cutting rates. It's also in quantitative easing, while Japan is going to be hiking. So that we should see this continue to fall, just fundamentally. But the big thing, of course, is like we need to take out 96 and just really real deal roll over here. So that's what we want to see. But this is distribution right here. That's what this is. Classic distribution. All right. This is perhaps your LPS in distribution before rolling over and going into accumulation. And fundamentally, we know Japan is hiking the rates. The United States is cutting. The United States is doing quantitative easing. So this is representing the strength of the United States dollar. Could you do Sol? We'll do Sol. We'll talk about Ethereum. We'll talk about Solana. Fear and greed chilling at 16. We've been in extreme fear for the past 60 days. 60 days. We have been under. Let me make sure I'm not lying here. Yes. So, since November 3rd, November 4th, technically, we have been under 30 consecutively. So technically that's 45 days. That's not 60 days. But still, 6 weeks at this point, straight, consecutively, under 30. Been in extreme fear for 6 weeks consecutive. So that's pretty insane. Of course, CoinMarketCap has it at 25. I do believe, same thing, that we have been under 40 as well since the same time. Under 30, excuse me. Yeah, so for them, it was the 3rd of November. Yes, so we have been under 30 since the 3rd of November on CMC as well as Alternative Me. That's pretty crazy. I don't remember another time where that's happened before, where, you know, you just have this big, long period of just being in fear like this. I don't remember a time ever where it was like that. I mean, even over here, you had a rally. You had multiple rallies, like between Luna. We got into greed before FTX, and then even here, you had a big rally up here. September happened. You bust out of there. You bust out of the 30s in October. You bust out in February. So this is unprecedented, uncharted territory. The one thing I did notice too, we'll see what happens, but I think that the jobs report came out and that was worse than expected, which should theoretically be good for if you want quantitative easing to continue. So this has dropped 3 points over the last 24 hours. So this was 77 yesterday, 77% chance that there's going to be no cuts in 42 days. Now it's at 74. We still have a long ways to go. But some momentum in the right direction. All right, let's look at Solana and Ethereum, and then we'll get into you guys' questions, comments, concerns. I'm seeing a notification SD is up, so usually that's a good sign. Let's look at Ethereum. Same thing for Ethereum, just a higher low as well. I'd like to see this hold over here, this higher low. We're about to get across to the upside on the 5 hour. We broke above the 5 hour, but we could not hold it. So we got to get above the 5 hour. 200 moving average. Right now is about $3,100. This is way flatter. So typically how this kind of plays out is like as far as the moving averages go, when you get them real spread out like this, you typically take 2-3 times trying to get above it. And it has to kind of flatten itself out here before you can actually get above it and flip it bullish. So we almost flipped it. We had the 20 on top of the on top of the 50, on top of the 100, and on top of the 200. We also had the 50 on top of the 200 and on top of the 100. We couldn't quite flip it though. But the good news is the 200 is completely flat, and we have a lot of volume coming in here, which shows you that there's real smoke to that fire. So we'll see if this can continue to be another higher low or not. We want this to be a nice higher low, just like so. And we've had multiple higher highs at this point as well. Can we get another one over here? That would probably put us, north of 3,500, and that would probably be a clean flip of the moving averages as well. So that is my thoughts on Ethereum. I do suspect that this is going to be another higher low. We're getting pretty oversold on the 5-hour here, about the same levels that we've gotten the last few times as well. So we'll see if this can be a confirmed higher low or not. Technically, we could drop all the way down to 2,700, 2,730, 2,750, and that would still just be a higher low. So buy the fear, sell the greed. Exactly. 100%. Super easy strategy. Has that happened before? Fear under 30 days? I have not been able to find an instance where that has happened. No. The longest I could find was in the last bear market. But even then, we had like relief inside of that. So June was the Luna collapse, right? June of 2022. So we were under... I guess this would be, yeah. So this was the only other time, was April of 2022 through June. And then we busted out of there. And so, like, technically in Wyckoff, and I've talked about this before, technically the selling climax of the market, of the bear market, was in June of 2022, not FTX. Okay? And you can see this too. So there's a lot of volume that came in for Bitcoin, but I'll show you on Ethereum too. In Wyckoff, this is technically your selling climax. Okay? And then this is technically, you could call it a spring or you could call it a secondary test. But either way, it's pretty textbook that you get a lower low with the secondary test or a spring. But most of the market actually bottomed here. Like Ethereum bottomed in June. This was really the peak fear of the market. This is when everyone went away. This was less despair, actually, than the June collapse. These were both... Let me show you Ethereum real quick. So why am I saying that? Is because of, like, the Luna collapse. So here's June, right? So this is June of 2022. You can see... Ethereum never went lower during FTX. So that's FTX, and this is Luna right here. And you can see it's a higher low. Like, it never went lower. It's just an uptrend from there. Still an uptrend, right? It still hasn't broken this downtrend here. It's just been higher highs and higher lows the whole time. It's just been kind of grueling, though. It hasn't been super fun or exciting. But really, that's what's happened the whole time. It's just been putting in higher lows and higher highs the whole time. Ever since over here. You can see too, when you look at the RSI, when you look at the June, so this is Luna collapse, June of 2022, you can see how deep it got. It got to 11, and then the FTX collapse was only 29, right? Actually, the war in Israel was worse for Ethereum as far as like sell pressure than actually FTX even. I'm pretty sure it's the same for Bitcoin too. And I'm saying this because even like you have to understand the difference between structure of where we're at versus the price. The price sometimes can go higher when it's not structurally supposed to. Like a buying climax, the upthrust could go higher even though the buying climax is already in. And the same thing is true with the selling climax. Your secondary test could technically go lower even though the selling climax is already in. But yeah, we do see this. So the point of what I'm saying is June 2022, even though November was the actual bottom price-wise, June was the selling climax of the bottom. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But you can see it with Bitcoin too. Like, look at the RSI. June of 2022, we were all the way down here at 12. Right? And then FTX obviously went lower, but the RSI was at 24. Right? So this is the real technical selling climax. And if I show you a picture of Wyckoff, so this is distribution, which is a topping structure, the secondary test goes higher, but this is the buying climax. That's textbook that you go higher in the secondary test, and the UTAD goes higher. But the buying climax is the real top, even though price doesn't always reflect that. Or it rarely does. Actually, if you do it textbook, let's look at accumulation. Let's find a good one here. So here it has Bitcoin too. That's funny. So it has this marked as the spring, which you could mark it either way. You could mark this FTX as the spring, or you could mark it as a secondary test. But it's probably, you would probably more classify it as a spring. Here you go. Let's see if it gives me the actual. Okay, good. The other website I was using had way too many ads, and it was really annoying. So I started using this, trying to find other ones. But here you go. So there you go. Selling climax. So that was technically for June of 2022, and then the secondary test goes lower. That's textbook, but this is the real bottom right here. Even though price goes lower, right? This is the real bottom, the structural bottom. Okay, selling climax is the climax of selling. Secondary test, often, textbook will go lower, but this is the climax. And the point of why I'm saying all this, like why the hell is he saying all this, is because you look, when was the last time we were at 45 days of just fear? It was over here. It was from April through June. Late April. So this was April 28th through June. When did we get out of fear? Oh, technically July. So that's about the same. About the same amount of time. And then we could look at the price and see like what happened between April 28th and through July. Well, here's July over here. You could see we had a dead cat bounce. We had a rally. But here is, you had this first big sell-off. This was late April is when you started like really falling out. You had the first big move. This would be your LPS in Wyckoff. That's what you would classify this move right here as. Let's pull this down. Or, excuse me, your preliminary support, your PS, your preliminary support. That's what this move is right here. That's a PS, which is like a kind of a false bottom. You kind of have a rally and then you roll over one final leg. Usually there's not really a reason for this. And then when you go over, you start getting like Luna goes to zero, Voyager, all this other stuff, right? So the point is, like, bro, we're deep into this. And the same thing, too, is like when you look at people say, meaning, like, I don't think there's much worse from top to bottom, from top to selling climax. Let's do it like this. Let's do buying climax to selling climax. Was 422 days. From the top to the spring was 364 days. Exactly 1 year. All right, well, let's look at the top here. Like, when was the euphoric top? Was it here? Or was it here? It was November of 24. Well, how many days are we into this then? $364 days. Maybe you want to say, like, that's the buying climax. Maybe we'll do it like this. Maybe it's 420. Like, sure. Like, that puts us into February. Like, we're way further into this than what people think. People are going to be bearish for way too long. Can you look at the Solnic chart? Yeah. Sure can. I've been buying Solnic every week. I'm going to buy $1,000 worth of Solnic plus 20% of all that I make until I move to the farm. Once I move to the farm, it's going to be 50% of all that I make. And then I just updated the roadmap for Solnic. But we are working on our swap app, which is going to be similar to Jupiter. But people are going to get cheaper fees if they stake their Solnic, which staking is live right now. And you can earn 92 million people, 92 million Solnic has been staked, which is about 10% of the total supply, right? And so the more the people stake, the more supply control that there's going to be. And our swap app is going to feature the staking, and it's going to give you better rewards for staking. So you can earn up to 30% on that. So this is going to be integrated into that. So big things coming. We're working on the swap app right now as we speak. Hopefully that's done early to mid 2026. And that's going to be really, really big, I think. And any revenue that we generate from that is going to be for buybacks and other development. So, by the way, we did go to $8. Now we just got to fill this wick out. $8.88. Now we just got to fill it out. Only thing is, like, I need to go on, like, Dex tools, but I don't think I can. Yeah, just a higher low, same as Bitcoin, same as Ethereum. We got to get back above here, put in a higher high, same as Bitcoin, same as Ethereum. Deep in accumulation here. Extremely oversold over here. Obviously, this isn't, this is kind of a... That's crazy to see it. But, yeah. What's the only price target? 10 cents, $1, $5.89. We already hit $8.88. Look at that, $8.88 on the nose. We just got to fill that out. Says Ski Bro, I think we're done, bro. Bear market this. Okay, like, I'll buy that for $1. But what does that mean? Like, I'm telling you, like, we're way deeper into it than you think. And then everyone thinks. Everyone's talking about October of 2026. January at worst. That's it. At worst. If the selling climax is not already in, there's a strong chance right here is the selling climax. If we get a spring or a secondary test, it'd probably be in January. So there you go. Like, we're way deeper. Like, what does that look like? What does it look like? How did the last one play out? From buying climax, or from the top to the bottom, how many days was it? 364 days. Okay, when was the peak euphoria? Let me go to a different chart. When was the peak euphoria? November of 2024. How many days are we into this? Let's look at December. I just screwed that up. 364 days. Where do we stake Solnic? You can stake Solnic on staking.solniccoin.io. You can earn up to 30% yield for 720 days. The longer you lock it up, the more reward you get. Total withdrawn so far has been 42 million, and the total staked is 92 million. So almost 10% of the supply has been staked. That number continues to go up. Guess what? It's simple economics. Supply plus demand equals price. If the supply keeps getting locked, there's no more new supply. What does that mean? Sooner or later, economics 101 is going to catch up to that. What time do you usually come on TikTok? Normally it's 5 o'clock. I had a showing on my house today. 5 o'clock Central Time. I had a showing on my house today, which put me way back. So today it's like 8:30, but it's because someone was looking at my house earlier today. Bitcoin's going to 75,000. It's possible. Possible. I'm not sold. Like, I have two scenarios for Bitcoin. Scenario number one looks like this. Big bear trap. And off to Neverland we go. That's scenario number one. This would be mimicking the C19 crash. Scenario number two is, here's what our accumulation looks like, and we've already gotten our selling climax. Might get a secondary test, it might get a spring. And then this would have us having a new all-time high by March. If not sooner. But yeah, like, to me, it's potato. Like, the difference between 85K and 75K 10 years from now is going to be laughable. There's going to be so many people waiting on the sidelines for the day that will never come. Greed shows up at the top and greed shows up at the bottom. Okay, how does greed show up? I'll show you how. When Bitcoin dropped to $15,500, everybody and their brother and their mother said we were going to 10K. They said we would buy it at 10K. 10K ain't no other way, and 10K never came. That happens every time, by the way. That happens every time, by the way. Every time. I heard 10K over here. I heard 10K over here. When Japan happened, I heard 30K. 30K. Everyone was waiting for 30K. 30K, 30K, 30K. It never came. When April tariff happened, 72K was the popular number. We went to 74K. So I don't know what the popular number is now. But it's going to be negligible, the difference. Yeah, sorry for the inconsistent times, guys. I'm trying to get on a well said. It's difficult to pick a bottom. It is difficult to pick a bottom. There is things that we can look for, right? So you want to see a bullish divergence. It looks like this. Okay. There's things you can look for of like structurally we're getting really, really close. And this is what it would look like. These also happen at tops too. You can find bearish divergences. Volume is a really good example. And then also the RSI. Okay, so like February, right? February of 25, Bitcoin drops to $78,000. The RSI dropped to, on the daily chart, I'm looking at the daily chart here, 18 on the daily RSI. Typically, like, usually your local bottoms are somewhere between 30 to 15. You don't really see it go below 10 or anything like that. Like, I can go back through the whole entire, bear market. Even June, Luna collapse, which we already talked about, was the true selling climax. It only got to 12. So getting below like the teens is pretty rare. The lowest that I've seen it on the daily chart is about 12. So when you start getting below 20, you're really close. But back to this. Okay. So this is definitely stuff that shows up a lot of times at bottoms. This is how a bottom will start to work its way out of here. So February of 25, we went to 16 on the RSI, 78K. You have a rally back up to 95K. And then in March, we went lower all the way down to 77,000. The RSI was higher. You came up again to 88,000, rolled over to 74, and then look at the RSI is at 32. That is what's called a bullish divergence. When the RSI or volume is a good example. If you have really high volume over here, like here's a bearish divergence, you can see. The volume is really picking up here. This is the peak of the volume, was November of 2024, right? You can see the price is continuing to rise, but the volume is falling. That's a bearish divergence. Also, the same thing happened. The RSI was falling, but the price was rising. This is a bearish divergence, right? So they happen at tops and bottoms. These are things to look for when we start getting really deep into it. And like, check it out. Like, we've already gotten the crazy amount of oversold. Like, what was the lowest that we saw for the entire bear market was 12. What did we get to? We got to 13 on the daily. Like, this is real right here. Like, I'm not saying that the bottom is in. But what could happen is something like this, where you got really, really oversold. You come up, you have a rally, you go a little bit lower, but the RSI is higher. It's like, okay, we might have one more of those if we're lucky. And it would look something like this if we're lucky, blessed, and we get better opportunity. I don't even know that that's going to happen, because this, to me, like the selling climax, in my opinion, there's a strong probability that this is already in. Like, this is the same level that we got with Luna, right? This is deeper than March. This is deeper than 9/11. Obviously, I'm not talking about the 9/11. I'm talking about the war in Israel 9/11, when that kicked off. And it's deeper than FTX. It's deeper than Silicon Valley Bank. It is tied with the Luna collapse. Okay? Like, that's pretty damn deep. So we'll see. Like, we'll see where that lands. We could get a bullish divergence, right? That's possible. But what I'm saying is, like, man, we could get something like this, right? Maybe we go to 79K or 78K or whatever, and then the RSI goes to 22. right? Like, that's all well and good. That's a bullish divergence. But I am very confident that this was the selling climax. It doesn't mean that the bottom is in, right? Because when you look at Wyckoff, selling climax isn't always the lowest price. In fact, it rarely is. But it's the climax of selling. Okay? Now you start looking for divergences. We had really high volume as well. You can see the volume. This is the highest volume that we've had in over a year. The highest volume that we've had since November of 2024, when that was our breakout. That was a real move because you can see that there's volume behind it. Look at this. This is a real move here. The RSI is super deep. The volume is super high. It doesn't mean that we're never going to go lower ever again. Right? Textbooks would say no. Textbook would say we probably will get another price. But I think that the selling climax is already in. That's what I think. Bitcoin still going over. Deep RSI and no meaningful reversal yet. Yeah, bro. Like what happened in Luna. Luna went to zero. No meaningful reversal. This was the selling climax of Bitcoin. Luna going to zero was the selling climax. What was the RSI when Luna went to zero? Right. The same number it is right now. 13. 13 was what happened when Luna went to zero. Was that the bottom? Did we go lower? Yes, we did. Let me ask you, though, would you be happy with the $17,400 average Bitcoin price right now? Or are you one of the zillion people that said that they were going to wait for 12K or 10K and then never bought? Are you happy? If you have the average price right now of $17,400, are you happy with that? Or are you everybody else and their brother and their mother and their wife's boyfriend who said they're waiting for 10K and it never came? Because they were certain it was going to keep going lower, even though there's signs all around us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that it's not going to go lower. What I'm saying is there's a strong probability based off of history that the selling climax is already in. This is a real move because there's real volume here. Like, look at the volume on FTX over here. Another bullish divergence. Price is going lower. Volume is going lower. Real move over here. Look at the volume. This is real. Make sure you guys are spamming that like button, hitting the share. Repost it if you're watching on TikTok. But this is basically my bear case or my base case of what I think is going to play out here. My bull case is going to look like this. And it would be more of like C19. Like silver is just euphoric right now. Silver is doing the opposite of what I'm talking about, right? RSI is going lower. Price is going higher. That's a bearish divergence. It doesn't mean that it's not going to go higher. In fact, it probably will go to $72. That's my prediction. However, this is beginning signs that, hey, this was the buying climax. This is probably our upthrust. Right here. You might pull back. You might get another high. Up to $71, $72. And then that'll probably be it. And then that would be your UTAD, which is the reverse of a spring. Also, what we would like to see to confirm that is something like that, another lower low on the RSI would say, hey, that was the UTAD. That was the upthrust. This is a topping structure in the beginning of it. Same thing we called out for gold. Like gold has not made a new high, but silver's ripping. Right? I said I'm selling 40% of my gold at $4,400. We still haven't went higher. Now, we could easily get a UTAD, right? This is what I drew out on the buying climax when it happened. Here you go, though. October 16th, I'm selling 40% of my gold today. We have not went higher for a second. Now, we might. We'll probably get a UTAD. Probably go to 4,500, 4,600, 4,700 even. Sure. But look at this. This is a major bearish divergence. And look at the monthly chart. Look at how hot you are on the monthly. We have not been this high since 1979. 1979. All right. This is real volume too. Cooling off. Not saying it's going to happen, but last couple cycles, Bitcoin was the lowest in the midterms of November. Would not surprise me. Wait, no, that's 2026. That actually would surprise me. Yes, that would surprise me. Silver will top at 67. Quant is still 300. It's still 300. Yeah, this is, I want to see if it'll show me some volume. Like, I need to find a chart that has real volume so I can see. It doesn't want to. Yeah, anyways. Volume is the truth. Prices to look at if we dip. Quant's basically been at the same price for like since 2022. I don't think Quant has even made a new low yet. Right? Yeah, Quant hasn't even put in a lower low. Like ever. Since 2022. It hasn't done anything crazy. Other than this first move out of 2022. Quant is a weird one. Because it did its own thing by itself. When nobody was looking. Like I remember this distinctly. Quant going from, I think it was $48. To $226. Like it was a 4x and nothing was going on. Like this, the market was dead during this time. It was weird that happened. But yeah, I don't think Quant's even put in a lower low ever since over here. So maybe you fill out this wick Maybe. Probably not. Like, it's probably getting pretty close, honestly. Let's see. That is 7%, 5%. 15. Three. Maybe I doubt you get that, honestly. $65, maybe. Probably not, though. Like, this is probably it. Yeah, this has been pretty typical of the last, within the same reason of the last higher lows. Thing is, it hasn't made a higher high either since 2022. This is just a giant parallel channel. It just continues to make higher highs and higher lows. Yeah, 315. Yeah, it's just got to make a higher high. It hasn't done it yet. I don't know that you're going to get too much better, though, to be honest. Like, maybe $70, maybe. It's pretty close. Like, it's honored this since 2022. Quant going to 67. The lowest I've seen Quant is 68 or 69. Yeah, I distinctly remember because I bought this dip. I think it got to $44. I think I bought a good bit of Quant here at like $48, and I sold most of it. I think I sold it at like $200. I still have some, but I definitely made a quick little flip in the bear market. I distinctly remember this pump right here. This is a 5X. Yeah, I definitely bought this around. I didn't get $44. I think I got $48 is what I got, I think. Yeah, I think I bought like in here. Maybe it was this little dip. It might have been $50. Somewhere. It was under $60 for sure, but I'm pretty sure it was $48 is what I got. And then I sold it for $200. Because I remember thinking it was a quick little 4X. And this was like, from June to October. Like, nothing was going on. This was in between Luna going to zero and FTX. Quant did that. So it can definitely do it. Its narrative has died. Did they lose their sponsorship with UFC? Did they lose their partnership with Walmart and Amazon? I don't know that that's true. Why do people say Ondo is no good because it's a governance token? Ondo is no good to me because of the inflation. It has nothing to do with governance. That's my opinion on Ondo. That's been my opinion on Ondo the whole time. I never drank the Kool-Aid on Ondo. Never for a day did I drink the Kool-Aid on Ondo. I would love to be face-meltingly wrong, but this is distribution. I would love for you guys to just laugh at my face at how wrecked I am on Ondo. It'll probably fill out this wick over here. Is what it looks like it's going to happen. But there's a lot of inflation on this. Yeah, I don't think governance is a bad thing. I think that the inflation is the bad thing. Can you elaborate, please? What do you mean? ICP has an extreme inflation? No. It does not. You can easily check anything's inflation by doing this. You go to coin market cap, and you can look at any coin. And what you want to look at is market cap and their FDV. 50%, that's basically what that is. So this is double, a little bit more than double. So it's probably like 52, just rough napkin math, you know, 52, 55%. I've seen worse. For me, the threshold is I less than 40%. This is over 50%. Also, like, look at this. You can just see right here. I'm going to show you. So the date of 12/16/2024 was the all-time high in price, right? Market cap, though, aka what people were buying and selling, or aka the dollars that were invested, made a new all-time high. You can see in January. I'm going to show you. So look at the market cap. Boom. So here is. So this is the delusion of what's left, not what's already happened from the time when most people bought it. So 12/15, again, that was the price all-time high. 12/15. That was the price all-time high. Look at the market cap, though. What does market cap mean? So the price all-time high was here. Market cap all-time high went here. What does that mean? It's like the dollars that are invested into the coin was at an all-time high, but the price was lower. Why was the price lower even though market cap was at an all-time high? That's because of delusion of supply. The same reason the US dollar sucks. Why does the dollar suck? Because they keep printing more money. Crypto is no different. It's not supposed to be this way, but a lot of it is no better than the US dollar as far as delusion of price. But yeah, no, when you look at ICP, it doesn't look like that. It's deflationary, actually. This is less than. Yeah, this is deflationary. It's less than. I like XTC, Ethereum. Are you asking me to look at the inflation on Ethereum? Is that what you're asking? Ethereum's inflation is good. Solid, right? Wait, let me go back. I think I screwed that up. Oh, yeah. Look. Market cap ICP is 1.66. FDV 1.66. There's no more supply. It's not inflationary. Yeah, I said that wrong. This is the total supply. I said that completely wrong. Sorry. Yeah, market cap on ICP 1.66. FDV 1.66. That's what you want. Ethereum. In my opinion, that's what I want. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you like inflation. I don't like inflation. 256 market cap, 256 FDV. Beautiful. That's what you want. You don't want a giant discrepancy here. VeChain. Market cap 929. FTV 938. That's within reason. What you don't want to see is this number to be double. Right? I'm not shitting on Ondo, but we were talking about it. So market cap 1.3, FTV 4.17. Okay, I said this wrong. Unlocked market cap. That's a whole different thing. So this is more than double. This is like almost a 2x or a 3x. Yeah, so market cap's 1.3 billion, the FTV is 4.17 billion. That's not good. I'm not saying to sell it, like it could do numbers, but me personally, that's why I don't like that sort of stuff. I want the number to be close. It doesn't need to be exactly, but if the market cap is 927, I want it to be pretty damn close. That means you're not going to be battling with inflation. Ethereum or XRP you like? I like ICP and VeChain. Listen, Ethereum is a solid investment. I'll say that. Like, I'll just tell you personally that my own personal bias. If I take out my personal bias, Ethereum is a solid investment. And I'm constantly longing Ethereum when I'm trading. Like, I'm doing that all the time. All the time I'm doing that. Ethereum is a solid investment. Now, if I'm honest and transparent, my personal bias is against Ethereum. Not because I don't think it's a good product, because it's very personal for me. And I'm just trying to be honest and transparent as I can. It's very, very personal. Like, not logical, practical, or from a good investment thesis. It's actually personal. In that, I mined Ethereum heavily. I had the largest mining operation in my entire city. And I was making a killing. I was making $10,000 a month mining Ethereum. You could not tell me nothing. I did not feel the bear market for a second until Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake. That's when I felt the bear market. I was still making like $3,000 a month mining Ethereum in the bear market. I didn't feel it for a second until they switched. All right, so very personal. Like, I don't like how Vitalik handled the miners. Personally, right? It's a good investment. I think Ethereum is fine for 10, 20 years. But that's just personal, right? It's actually literally personal for me. Of like, he took away an awesome thing that I had going, and it doesn't exist for me anymore. Pi has too much inflation, 100%. Bro. But yeah, I like XRP a little bit more than Ethereum, although I believe in both of them. Long term, I think they're both here for 20 years, but it's literally personal with me. Like, actually, I don't hold Ethereum for personal reasons because I'm bitter at Vitalik for taking away this cush-ass thing that I had going on that no longer exists for me. All right. Like, just honest to God, that's what it is. But, like, if I'm being real, like, Ethereum's a good product. ADA is solid. I feel fine holding ADA for 20 years. Me, myself, and I. Thank you for the $1.99 donation, you savage, bro.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
He says, can you look at Telcoin? I sure can, brother. Thank you for the support and the donation. All season dead, all season delayed. Man, whew. This is a good looking chart, bro. You let me show you what this chart reminds me of. Let me show you what this chart reminds me of. I'm not even going to say nothing, bro. I'm not going to say nothing. Let me clean this up a bit. I got all this crazy stuff going on here. All right, let me show you what this chart looks like to me. Bro, I'm not going to say a word. This is what this chart looks like to me. Looks pretty good to me, bro. I'm not even going to tell you what this chart is on the bottom. Is Sol worth buying? Is there a potential threat? There's always a potential threat. I think Solana is very underrated. The biggest threat you're going to have with Solana is like the elasticity. Right? I think that Solana has been very resilient because here's the biggest threat, to be honest, keeping it a buck. I think so, yes. They're going to print to oblivion. All right. Well, do I believe in Sailor's 1 million Bitcoin in 10 years? Yes, I do think that Bitcoin will be $1 million in 10 years. Easy. Because, like, $1 million won't be $1 million in 10 years. It literally will not be. Think about 10 years ago. Like, $1 million is not $1 million today. All right. So what is the biggest threat with Solana is, you know, it's kind of a yin yang of like, it was so resilient that the elasticity had a huge bounce. Right? So it was super tied to FTX in November. And it recovered. Like, that to me shows so much strength that it was super tied to FTX. And not only was it tied, but it just ripped. I mean, it went from $10 to $300. Okay, so the biggest risk though is like you start losing this, you could still fill this out. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's price risk. But as far as like technology, I think it's super good. I think it's underrated technology. People associate it with meme coins, but in reality, if you know Java, if you know Rust, if you know C++, if you know any of that, you can program something on any of those programs and you can just launch it on Solana. To me, that's crazy. Right? What is possible with Solana is we're not even close to discovering, but because in reality, if any person knows how to code on C++, Rust, Java, any of those things, Python, you can just program on Solana. Like a lot of the other blockchains are not like that. Solana is very plug and play, very easy for any developer from any platform, blockchain or not, they can build stuff on Solana. Now, it doesn't mean it's already been built, but what it's capable of is pretty crazy. What about the whole Japan thing? I don't care, honestly. People always want a rhyme or a reason for things to go down. We'll see what it does. Sure, like Japan. Okay. What is the GDP of Japan? I literally do not know. I literally don't know. Let's find this out together. All right. $3.3 trillion. Okay. Now let's do another fun little one. What is the GDP of USA? $30 trillion by the end of 2025. Okay? People want a reason to be afraid. Here's the math, though. The United States is 10 times larger, literally, than Japan. So, Japan is raising the rates. The United States is lowering the rates. One of them is more important than the other. Mathematically, 10 times more important. So people want a reason to be afraid. People want a reason to be fearful, all this stuff. I don't care about that. Because the Fed is quantitative easing. The Fed is lowering rates. That's what's happening. Listen, I didn't know that until we looked it up, but there you go. $3 trillion is the GDP of Japan. The GDP of the United States is $30 trillion. That's my thoughts. Is it something? Sure. Is it 1/10 of the importance of the United States? Yes. All right. That's going to be it for this time, guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I will never message you first. Those are scammers. For the love of God, do not get scammed. That is the Solnic contract address. We're building some really cool things on Solnic. While everyone is going away, being fearful, we are in the proper trenches, properly developing. But I'll be live. I'm going to try to be live around 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Life always happens for me, though, so we'll see. But 5 p.m. is my goal. Someone was looking at my house today, so I had to, because my house is for sale right now because I'm trying to get to the farm. But that's going to be it for this time. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Peace, love, prosperity. God first. God bless. I'm out.